Hey, welcome back to the Quick Speed Shop. I'm Josh. Here we go. This is the last weekend. I've got to work on my Deathtrap Rail Dragster. It's going to the Buffalo Motorama. It's already passed for you guys, but it's not passed for me, so I got to get finishing it up. Here we go. So, last time, what did I do? I forget. Oh yeah, last time I was working on, we got it fired, that's right. So I did a little bit of off-camera work here, and I finished the coolant system, which I think I started in the last video. I took the water pump off and stuff. So I put on a new water pump. I went down in my box of pulleys. I found an upper pulley that I think might be a Buick pulley. My dad had powder coated a couple of them for some reason, and I think it's the one for this. But anyways, so I got that on there, and I also had a pile of old belts. I got it at an auction years ago for like $1. Came in handy because I found a belt that fits. Check it out. It's might even be a lawnmower belt. Well, it's a Gates belt. I don't know. But I was able to cram it on there, so it's on tight enough. I think it'll spin the water pump over. And speaking of water pump, check out my my bougie setup of hose action here. Now, all these early dragsters, almost all of them never ran radiators because they didn't run long enough, and later on they would fill the blocks with like, not concrete, but like a hard material, and they ran them, didn't even have coolant passages in them. But that was for strength more than cooling. But for what I'm doing, I just looped these hoses. I had a bunch of old radiator hoses. I had to get this filler neck from Jegs, so I'd have somebody to put coolant in it, and this will allow to have a pressure blow off. If the thing gets too hot, it can blow out the overflow and not like blow the hoses apart and scald somebody with hot water. That would suck. So I just looped these together, just kind of hanging. It should be fine, and it'll just circulate the water in a circle. I took the thermostat and I took the guts out of it because it was really old and it was probably stuck, and I just took the plunger that moves. I took that out, so now there's like the body of the thermostat is like an orifice just to slow the water down a little bit. But for what we're doing, it's going to be fine. So this is all set. Everything's good to go. You might be wondering what this strange contraption is on top of the carburetor. If you go back and look at historical pictures of the 50s dragsters, usually they're running multiple carburations, probably like 97s or 94s or something like that. Obviously I got 4-barrel on this thing, but in almost all the pictures you saw like a homemade little sheet metal scoop over the air cleaners. And the only thing I can figure out, not being there at the time, is maybe if you just ran a wide open air cleaner with nothing over it, like the air going over the top of it would suck, make a negative pressure, and it wouldn't, the carburetor wouldn't work correctly or something like that. Or maybe it was just to keep, well, they wouldn't be out in the rain. So I think it had something to do with airflow. And you'll see everybody's running these like sheet metal scoops. They just kind of, most of the time they're like bolted on or whatever. I just bent this up out of an old piece of sheet metal. My buddy Jordan winged me out a bottom plate on his CNC plasma cutter. So I put it on here and I trimmed it around the linkage for the accelerator pump. I had this piece of rusty 18 gauge, just kind of bent up a piece, and it screws on there. So I had a scoop I was going to run. Where is it? Over here. Oops. I had this cool aluminum scoop I was going to run on this thing, and I need an adapter ring to fit because it's a smaller carburetor top. But this is too new. This would be like 60s dragster action, and even though it looked like cool on there, it would have been too new of a time frame for what I'm going with. So I'll save that, put that back in my stash of action. So I chose not to go with a scoop because it would have been late. That would have been like mid-60s. You'd see something like that. So I'm going for like 1956 time frame. So we're going to go with the sheet metal scoop, or sheet metal deflector there, which would allow it to suck air around the sides, and the air rushing over the top would blow over it. I think that's why they did it. I don't know. I wasn't there. But anyways, we got that all going. I got a return spring in my throttle. The fuel system's all hooked up. Everything's hooked up. I think the next step here is I want to get this thing, in the previous video when I fired it up, it only ran for a few seconds. I want to get fuel going through. The carburetor, I've kind of like half rebuilt it. I put new needles and seats in it, and checked the floats, cleaned some grunge out of it, changed a couple of gaskets. I didn't do like a full like rebuild because it seems super complicated. But I'm hoping that it'll take fuel and work. Unfortunately, it was like 50 degrees yesterday, Well, now it's gone right back to like 30 and windy, like 30-mile-an-hour winds, so that's great. Don't worry about the little bit of dirt in this antifreeze. It's just like dust that got in it. It's mostly, came out of engines I drained out, so it's mostly good. Good enough for what we're doing. If this is summertime, I could just put water in it, but it's wintertime. Man, how much is this going to take? Holy moly. It's time to fuel her up. I'm going to turn my heater off so we don't suck any gasoline fumes into the furnace. And I'm going to have to open the door. I did carbon monoxide poison myself one time running my dad's 401 Nailhead when I had the Model 8 truck here a few years ago. I was getting it going for my stepmom, and I ran it in here with the door closed because it was wintertime, just for a little bit. But these things move a lot of air because they're huge air pumps, and I ended up getting carbon monoxide sickness. That was fun. Because it's one of these new style gas cans. It's going to take all day to do this, to pour in like a gallon. Like I said, I rebuilt the carburetor, so it's going to take a second to pump fuel into it. I've got a little bottle here. I'm going to try to fill up the vents, which is dumping gas all over everything. Let's not have a fire, that'd be great. Yeah, it's pretty much dumping gas on everything. This will put a little in the bowls. I don't have the choke hooked up, but we have an accelerator pump now, and that was dribble lid in there. This time I'm going to put on my hearing protection because it is loud, and I'm going to climb into the car. Actually, are you recording? All right, here we go. And climb into her. We're going to try it out. Ready? Here we go. Woo! Immediately. Just thinking about it. Thinking about it. Let me climb out, get closer. Smells like emissions in here. Let me turn on the fan and open the door. thing's got a rod knock in it. This engine's knocking. She is knocking. You hear that? Well, that's not good. It definitely has a knock. Knock, 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 knock. That's not good at all, bro. And my coolant system is puking out of the overflow because this radiator cap is not sealing to that jegs thing. It's not sealing. It's just blowing it by, which is fine. You know what? How we can fix that? We can pull this out, stick this up in the air for now. And it shouldn't want to puke out if it's up in the air. This thing definitely has a knock. Definitely has a knock. That's not good. No wonder it was out. You know what it is? Oh, I got to do something with this. You know what it is? The oil pan's bent and the rod's hitting the freaking oil pan. The bottom of the oil pan's caved in the front. I just put my hand on it and the rod is hitting the oil pan. I can see it now. The way it was stored, it caved the oil pan up into the crank. Well, that's great. Can I get the oil pan off? Well, the thing is in the car. I think I can. That's wonderful. Oh, nuts. The stupid coolant overflow. The radiator cap's not sealing, and so it's just like spinning the coolant, blowing it right out the overflow. So I probably got to take the cap off. How warm is this? Yeah, not real warm at all. I got to take the cap off and it's not pushing this down and sealing it, so it's just blowing right up and blowing right out the overflow. I guess I'll take the grinder and like surface this down and do something. I tried 2 different radiator caps and they were both not, I could tell they weren't touching. This thing's kind of cast, must just be cast too tall. I can grind it down a little bit and it'll get the cap to push down in there, or else I'll look and see if I got any other caps that work. But yeah, it's just the oil pan. I put my hand on it, I could feel it hitting the oil pan, so got to fix that. Okay, I'm glad I got the oil pan off, and you're going to see why in a second. Here it is. Whoa. Right there, that shiny spot, that's where it was rubbing on the rod. But look at the sludge that was in the bottom of this pan. I'm glad that happened. The oil pickup was right in the sludge, and it's completely nasty. So now at least I can clean this out. I'm going to clean off the pickup, and we should have some more oil pressure, because this was sucking right in this old sludgy oil. Oh, what the heck is that? There's chunks in it. What is that? Uh-oh. Something broken off in here. Big chunks. Big chunks. Oh, there's all kinds of chunks in here. What in the world is this? Oh, no. What is broken in this thing? Oh, shoot. Oil everywhere. I don't know what it is, but it's in the pan. Oh my God, this is gross. chunks. I don't know, have any idea what's broken in this engine, but yeah, there's like there's a nut in the oil pan. What in the world happened to this thing? Oh my goodness. But we'll get all this sludge out of the pan. I don't know where that nut came from. I don't know what these broken pieces are. We'll go under the engine and look in a second. But oh man, the sludge is disgusting. Man. There's all kinds of gray material. I don't know what that is. Just old oil that's turned gray. I don't know any idea, man. I'm making a mess. Look at all this. Look at this. Chunks, nuts. Huge piece of gasket. Like gray debris. I've never seen such a thing. Yikes. Try to like spray into this pickup. Oh yeah, there's crud. That's probably plugged right full. Ugh. Good news, bad news. I looked at the bottom of the engine and all the rods seem to be tight. And I got the pan cleaned up the best I can, so we're going to hammer that back into shape. And I don't see anything really bad on the bottom. I don't know where those chunks in the pan came from. Could be piston skirt. I don't know what they are. The bad news is I cleaned that nut up, and it is a connecting rod nut. Very odd, but it doesn't appear to have been bolted down at all. Maybe on that side. I don't know, but the thing was completely packed full of sludge and like sunken into sludge and packed full, which tells me that it must have been off for quite a while, just down in the sludge. And I rolled the engine over and checked all the connecting rods. Hold on, I can take the battery back off. And all the nuts are on the rods, so I don't know if somebody had the engine off and had it upside down and dropped the nut in it and just said screw it and put it back together, or it fell off and nobody knew where it was and didn't clean the pan out and just put another rod nut on it. I have no idea what's going on with that. But we're going to do the right thing, pretend we didn't see it, and just go from there. So I'm going to get my mallet, or my hammer, I'm going to tap this all back into shape because that was caved in. The bottom is severely caved in. Take the damage out of this. I'm going to wire wheel the top of this down nice, and I'm going to put a nice fat bead of RTV all the way around. And then while that's going to tack up, I'm going to clean the gasket off the bottom, wipe it down with lacquer thinner or something, get the bottom of the deck, the block surface nice and clean. I've cleaned the oil pickup out as best I can. I got most of the sludge out of that with some brake cleaner, so we'll clean it all up and we'll just stick the pan back on it, not be hitting here, and then fill her back up with some clean oil. It'll definitely not, this pickup was smashed right into the bottom of the pan. I can see the mark where it was. So at least we'll be able to pick up some more oil. It'll probably pick up some oil pressure because I bet it was sucking oil through that sludge, which is not good. So we'll fix all that, but luckily, I guess this saved the day because if I just continued to run this and suck through that sludge, we had a low oil pressure. Not that this engine's going to run a lot, but it really it was good to clean all this out. So even if the oil pan leaks a little bit, is what it is. It's going to be fine for what I'm doing. Oh yeah. Perfect. Hammer it back into place. That's probably good enough. Up here. Here we go. That wore in the metal a little bit, but it's not more than halfway through. It's going to be all right. The big trick's going to be getting this up under here without touching the surface. Ooh, I think I did it. Okay. Boom. One shot. All right. And I cleaned all the bolts off the best I could. So here we go. Well, you get the general idea. I'm just going to have to boulder on up here. I'm going to snug these up slow, let the RTV kind of make a gasket, and then final torque it after a couple minutes. But actually, without a gasket, it's going to just be one and done. The bolt holes, where the bolts go, the holes are embossed, so those will touch. And then I should have put enough gasket material on that it'll squish out around the bolt holes in between, but yeah, it's already squishing good. This will make a good enough seal for getting me to the show. I can get a gasket later and take this off and redo it, but for now, for what I had to work with, good enough. Dang it. That might be too much transmission fluid. Son of a... Son of a gun. Dang it. Well, that wasn't good. Did I put too much in? Apparently, maybe. Ooh, the headers are hot. Everything's hot. Well, ain't that a thing. So, we got multiple issues here. Apparently, I overfilled the transmission. And another thing that is a problem. Another thing that's a problem is the accelerator pump is not working at all. And it needs the fuel from the accelerator pump to rev up, obviously. I don't know how I overfilled this. It had like 0 on the stick. So I put another cord in it. Now we're puking everywhere. Dang it. Not good, bro. Nasty. So, yeah. Alright, you guys watch the dipstick. Don't let it blow over. Definitely need an accelerator pump. We got nothing. That's what I'm talking about. Wow. Wow. So, I don't know how loud that was for you guys, but it's loud. I had to put an overflow tank on here, and this is like a street rod stainless steel one. It is what it is. I made a little bracket to bolt on there, but it gets hot pretty fast, and it pukes out the overflow in the radiator cap up here, and I don't want it puking on the carpet when I take it to the convention center, so it'll puke into this catch can if it gets hot. What I'll probably do is just fire it up enough that they get it in the building, then we'll have to push it, because I don't want it to overheat. But you can see the carburetor is still doggy. It takes a while to get over the hump. The accelerator pump is lazy, but hopefully it'll like work in once they get into it. Oh man, this thing is loud. Holy moly. So it's getting late tonight. The sun's about to go down out there. The thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clean all this disaster up of nonsense over here, get this thing ready to go outside tomorrow, and we'll try it in the driveway, try to put it in gear. I'm still nervous about, I don't want any fluid to come puking out of the dipstick. I got it kind of taped in there for now. We'll see how it goes, but I'm real curious to see how it goes out. You know, see if it moves around. It should, but it's coming around. It's coming right around now. It's starting to think it's going to do something. So, all right, here we go. It's the moment of truth. It's the next day. It's super windy outside and cold. It's like 30 degrees. So this thing's gonna be a little cold-blooded. But we're gonna fire it up. It's on the ground. Got my brake working. We're gonna try to do something with this car right now. Here we go, ready? Helps when I turn the ignition on. There's no choke and the accelerator pump is wonky, so. I'm gonna put the brake on. It should be neutral. All right, here we go. Should be low gear. Brakes work. This thing's dangerous. Whoa. Holy moly. Oops. That's the problem of hitting the switches when you get out of this thing. Ah, let me out. That's enough. This thing is beyond obnoxious. And if that carburetor ever worked good, this thing will be way out of control. way, way, way out of control. Ah, man. Ooh, it's a built-in ham warmer. Convention center is pretty crazy. Let me take my jacket, open it up here so I can get the microphone. Oh, there it is. It's pretty crazy. It's like, you know, a carpeted indoor fancy building, and then we drive cars into it. So this thing is gonna be in the building, fired up, running. That's why I put the catch can on it, just so it didn't puke antifreeze. I just rail canned some flat black onto here. Yeah, it's not even that warm. I need to get one of those digital thermometer things. You saw it was missing and running like rough and shaking. That's just because of low fuel. When it, you know, I revved it up slowly and it pulled into it and it started sucking through the, you know, the float bowls, and then it was able to pick up some RPM, pick up all the cylinders. It's the accelerator pump's still super wonky on it. This carburetor, if I had a different carburetor that was a little bit better, I'd put on it, but I don't have one. It's good enough for going to the show, but that's why it runs like garbage. It doesn't have an accelerator pump, and this thing's 401 cubic inches, so it needs a ton of fuel, you know, shot into it to when you whack the throttle. It wants lots of fuel. So if the accelerator pump is lazy, it's gonna pretty much run like garbage like that. And then when I revved it up, it was, you know, lean, and I let off, and boom, 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 backfire. That's lean. That's a lean backfire plus, you know, short headers, but. So it's definitely not tuned anywhere where it needs to be. I've got the initial timing set at about 8 degrees, which I'm sure is probably good enough. But it's going to be proof of concept. It'll run and move to get in the show. The transmission, I think, is still low on oil, but I'm afraid when it puked out before, it puked out there. So it would go into gear. Once in a while, I thought about it, and then I would think about it. So it probably is low. And we could fire it up, and I could untape the dipstick, and I could check it. But I don't want to go pouring any more fluid in and having geyser out again. So as long as it moves, you know, 20, 30 feet, which it seems like it does, it'll be okay to get in the show. So that's, oh, I also, check this out. I got out the tow bar, and I bolted on my brackets I made. This tow bar just bolts on here, and it's made out of an old Ford wishbone. Here's the wishbone on the front wishbone. And super cool. I'm going to display it with the car, like laying under the car like this, so be able to see it. I didn't want to have it sticking out and be a tripping hazard, obviously. And it kind of takes away from the thing if you have it straight up and down. You know, if you're displaying this at like an indoor car show back in the late 50s, early 60s, you would take your tow bar off or take it with you. So I'm going to display it under the car. But I mean, you're looking at it. This is what's going to be at the show. Oh, I put the seatbelt in it. This is the World War II-ish seatbelt. I can't really read the logo on it, but, you know, military aircraft seatbelt that's pretty old. And it's not really safe. It kind of just goes across your legs, but it goes in here and it goes like that, couples down. But, you know, for the look of what we're doing here, it's going to be way more than awesome, good enough. So that's it for now. The Deathtrap Rail Dragster, and don't let me fool you, it is a death trap. You would get hurt in this thing big time if you actually try to run it. So this thing is ready to go. Obviously, it's probably not going to do any burnouts running like garbage with that carburetor. If I had a carburetor that could take throttle, it would light these tires right up there so hard it would smoke them. We'll have to do that in a future video. I'll have to get the carburetor going better, and we'll have to do like a 50s dragster smoke show with the thing. It'll probably just be a one-wheel peel, but whatever. So that's it. Next time you'll see me, we'll be at the Buffalo Motorama. I'm going to film some there. We'll film setting up on Thursday, and then I'll probably film over the weekend here and there. And my friend Ted's going to me on Friday. We're going to stay overnight, and then so we'll see a bunch of stuff there. So next video will be at the Buffalo Motorama. So thanks for watching. Bam. This is a cool build. 5 weeks. And it's done, ready for the show. So thanks for watching. We'll see you again next time. Bam. Here at the Quick Speed Shop.